the bus blew a tyre on the way back and we were stranded at the side of the road on this main road for like an hour. Everyone, and welcome back. Now, if you follow me on Instagram, then you know that I have recently got back from a very special trip on my first ever cruise, which was so much fun. Now, a little bit of an overview for you. It was a fly cruise, so that means that we flew from Gatwick Airport, we landed in Tenerife. Well, it doesn't mean that that was where we went, but that was where we went. It means that you fly before you get on your ship. So we flew to Tenerife, where we docked onto our ship, and then we sailed around the Canary Islands. So we had stops off in Madeira, Gran Canaria, Lanzarote, and then back to Tenerife. And we honestly had so much fun. It was a week-long cruise. There were 2 days at sea, so I think for a first cruise it was a really nice length. Also got a real feel for what it meant to be like at sea, and just kind of got a feel for the whole experience on one of P&O's not as big ships. It still felt pretty huge. There were lots of times, there were a few bits around the ship where you have to go up certain staircases to get to certain floors or certain areas. So there were times that we were wandering around like, we've no idea where we are. How do we get there? But yeah, it was a really exciting trip for so many reasons. One of them being I got engaged. So yeah, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't vlog the trip. I was going to, and then after this happened, I decided not to. Because it was just a really special trip for me and my fiance, and I just wanted to really be in the moment and enjoying it, which we absolutely did. So what I'm going to do instead is I've got a few videos lined up for you. If you were like me, prior to going on this, I really had no idea what to expect from a cruise. So I'm going to do a few kind of tips and tricks vlogs to help you. So next week we're going to have a packing video, and then the week after I've got one on the places to eat and also the things that I've learnt on my first cruise and the things I would do and wouldn't do again. But I thought today I'd just give you a little bit of a trip review and what we got up to. So I'll start with the room. We were on deck 10, so this, if you can get onto deck 10, was really great. We didn't realise this at the time, but it was a slight upgrade from what we had originally booked. Now we did get, so when a ship isn't filled, you have the opportunity where you might automatically be upgraded depending on what room we've gone for originally. So we got this email saying that we've been upgraded, and we were like, oh, okay, so we've moved to deck 10. That means nothing to us. Well, on the Azura, deck 10, the balconies are double the size of any other level on the ship. So our balcony was absolutely huge. Gorgeous. It was so nice to sit out on and look out in the mornings. We saw dolphins from the balcony. We got to watch ourselves sail away from the various islands. We made full use of that balcony, just really enjoyed it. So we're very lucky to have that larger space. The room itself was on the small side, but much bigger, I'm going to be honest, than what I was expecting. I am very aware that cruise ship rooms are pretty small, but there was a huge king size bed, or was it queen size? I'm not sure. It was like two single beds, slightly bigger than single beds, like combined. So it was really spacious, really comfortable. And then you had like a little desk area with a little fridge section, and then you had the balcony. But then as you come into the room, you've got kind of like walk-in wardrobe-y sort of bit with a bathroom. Now the bathroom is literally the toilet, the sink and the shower, and if you're not sat on the toilet, then you're stood in front of the sink sort of thing. Like, it was tiny, but you make it work, and it wasn't a problem. So yeah, really liked it. And they had a big mirror along the wall, so it was nice and light, made the room feel that little bit bigger. So overall was really happy with the room, and the room service was not great. That may have been though because the day we ordered room service for breakfast was one of the days at sea. It was also Valentine's Day, so I suspect that everyone had the same idea. So we'd ordered our breakfast the night before. You leave it on your door as you're instructed to do, and you put the time that you'd like your breakfast to arrive. And I think we were still waiting like an hour beyond the time that we'd requested, and then we called them and they said, no, your breakfast's on the way, it's on the way. By this point the buffet breakfast had closed, so we couldn't go down and get food there. And then when the food arrived, like only 2 of the items that we'd asked for were there. And you know what, it was fine. There's literally food on tap all day on the cruise. So it wasn't an issue. It was just a shame because we'd thought that would be a nice thing to have, but it really didn't matter. So leading on to food, there are 2 options when it comes to free dining. There is the freedom dining, which means you can go into the buffet areas anytime, like within the dining hours, anytime. It's not a set time, and you go get your food and you sit down and you enjoy it. Or you can have the club dining, which is more, I believe, like a restaurant experience. Now, we went for the freedom dining. I regret going for the freedom dining. It just felt like you were in a cafe, I'm gonna be honest, and the food was okay. Now, we might have just been unlucky on the nights that we did have the buffet, but it was very kind of like, it just wasn't that great. Lunch was nice, but the dinners just weren't that fab. So what we did instead, and I'll do a separate video on this, we went for the supplement dining, where you paid a little bit extra, but oh my goodness, they were some of the nicest meals I have ever had. They were so, so good. So we ate at the Beach House, which was like a Tex-Mex restaurant. We ate at the Glass House, which was a steak restaurant. We ate at the Epicurean, which was like a high fine dining experience. And we also ate at Sindhu, which was an Indian restaurant. And the Beach House I could criticise, but the other 3, 4 I could not fault in the slightest. They were just wonderful, and as I said, I'll do a separate video on them. But I would recommend considering taking a little bit more cash with you so that you can really enjoy that really amazing quality of food. And I think the highest we paid for the 2 of us was £60 as an additional add-on for the food, and that was at the Epicurean. And we also had drinks and champagne and every single course. Yeah, so £60 for that, you know, it was 100% worth it, I would definitely say. In terms of excursions, we didn't actually book onto a single excursion with P&O, we just did it ourselves. So we saw what P&O were offering to get kind of inspiration of what was going on the different islands, and then we just did it ourselves. So in Madeira, we went up in the cable car, we went down on the, well, I was going to say we went down the toboggan, we did not go down on the toboggan, we were meant to, but the queue was so long, and that was just after we got engaged, and we were like, we don't want to wait in a 2.5 hour queue just after getting engaged. So we got a taxi back down and then found somewhere nice to eat, which was lovely. In Lanzarote, that one was quite fun. We got a taxi from basically right outside the ship, and we got a tour of the volcano park, and we also got to see like where some wine was made and just the island in general, which was really nice. Gran Canaria, we just had a mooch, really. We did our own kind of walking tour with lots of cafes and food stops, which was lovely. And then Tenerife, we went to Siam. I don't know if it's Siam or Siam, but we went to the water park there, Siam Park, and it was so much fun. It was honestly, if you are not new to my channel, if you've watched my previous vlogs, you know I love the water parks in America, and this was beyond any water park I have ever been to. I loved it, and I think I will go back to Tenerife purely to go to the water park. It was so good. Downside of that trip though was we were docked on the north side of the island and the water park's down on the south, which was fine. It was a 40-minute bus ride, easy peasy, walked to the bus stop, did all that, got the bus. Well, the bus getting back, thank goodness this was one of the nights where the ship was not leaving the dock, because we left plenty of time, like I mean plenty of time to get back. We had our reservation at Sindhu that evening, and the bus blew a tyre on the way back, and we were stranded at the side of the road on this main road for like an hour. And then another bus came along, and bear in mind, you know, my fiance, he does speak a bit of Spanish, so we were kind of able to pick up on what, well, bar the obvious, we were able to pick up on what was going on and what was being told, but we were just these 2 Brits in the middle of a load of locals not having a clue what was going on and thinking we're gonna miss our reservation, but at least it was just that we were thinking we were going to miss our reservation, and not we will miss the whole boat, it's gonna go off without us. So yeah, I think if I do Siam Park again, it will be to just be on the south side of the island. Okay, so sea days. These were so much fun. I wasn't sure. I was like, oh, is it going to be a bit boring? No. I wish I had more sea days. It was so much fun. So I did not realise how hot. Bear in mind, we went away in February. I didn't think it would be that hot on the ship, because in my head, when you go to the beach, it's always a bit cooler. So if you're in the middle of the sea, it's going to be freezing. Well, no, it was roasting. Was able to just sunbathe all day by the pool. If anything got a bit too hot, had to go into the pool to cool off. They had freshly made pizza being churned out all day. You had the bars and stuff, so you could go to them. They had films playing in the outdoor cinema area. If you went to the other more kind of adult pool, they had music playing all day. Oh, it was so much fun, to the point where there was loads of things I wanted to do. Like I was adamant I was going to get to play bingo, because that's what you do on a cruise. You go and you play bingo. But where the weather was so glorious, I didn't want to go inside. So I didn't actually get to make use of a lot of the indoor ship amenities on those sea days, because I was just enjoying being out. And the other thing that I was concerned about as someone having never cruised before was it just going to all feel super overcrowded? You're literally shoulder to shoulder with the person on the sunbed next to you. Yes is the short answer, but if you look around, you will always find some sunbeds kind of a bit more on their own. So on both sea days, we managed to find a spot just for the two of us, which was lovely. Full sun, gorgeous. And then by the evening we went back, and then we had our balcony again, and that was just to ourselves, and it was really lovely. And you can take, like I said about the pizzas and stuff, and then you've got lunch in the buffet area, and then they also do an afternoon tea. So you are allowed to take all that food back to your room as well if you want. So we did that a couple of times. We took some pizza and some scones back from the afternoon tea back onto the balcony and just enjoyed it and watched, as I said, the dolphins, which was really lovely. And yeah, I would advise, and again, this will be in my tips and tricks video, which will be out in a couple of weeks. I would advise actually going for later times when it comes to eating. I'm an early eater. I tend to like to eat about 7ish, 6:30, 7. I would say between 8 and 9 on a cruise. Your whole day just kind of shifts back a little bit, and then that just gives you time to enjoy the day and then get really dressed up, which is lovely. And that now leads me on to the formal nights. So we had 2 formal nights on our time at sea. They were on both of the sea days. The first was when you got a formal welcome from the captain. Now don't make the mistake we did. We missed it, because the first sitting we weren't ready for in time, and then the second we were eating. So we missed it, and they were giving out free Prosecco in the atrium when the captain did his greeting. So we're like, oh, well, it's just a glass of Prosecco, it doesn't matter. Well, we didn't read the little invite that was on our door that day, because it did say, if you can't attend, use this invite at any of the bars and we'll give you your drink there and then. So we didn't have to miss out on that, so learn from our mistakes. But I loved the formal nights. It was a chance. Nothing was too overdressed. I wore a ball gown. In fact, I will show you a picture of what I wore on the formal nights. I wore a ball gown and I didn't feel overdressed. So, I mean, how many times in life do you get to wear just whatever you want? But if getting dressed up's not your thing, doesn't matter. There's lots of places on the ship where it doesn't matter if you're not dressed up or not. There are a few, and I like this, they've got a few restaurants that you have to be in black tie for, which is nice, because for the people who are dressed up, they're in the middle of that atmosphere, they're really enjoying it. But if it's not your thing, then it doesn't have to be. We also made use of the theatre, which was really good fun. They had a musicals night, a movie, what was it called, Reel to Reel or something, and it was songs from greatest movies of all time brought onto the stage. Oh, it was so much fun. So overall, just really enjoyed it, and just every day was so much fun, and it was a nice combination of getting to relax as well as explore places. And I would say I always had the kind of preconception that cruises are for old people, and they're not. I'm 30, my fiance's in his late 20s, and yeah, there were a lot of people much older than us, but there were also a lot of young couples our age doing the same thing as us, and it was just really lovely. Really enjoyed it, and it was really good value for money. So as I said, we went with P&O, and they've got so many sailings going all over the place, and because ours was a fly cruise, it was a tiny bit more expensive than if you went from Southampton, but it did mean we were straight into the sun and into the kind of warmth and everything. But one thing's for sure, I am now converted to cruising, and I will be going on another. That is 100% going to happen. So I would urge you, if you're ever in the slightest way tempted to do a cruise, just do it. If you suffer from seasickness, it's not that bad. We had a couple of nights where it was a bit choppier, but it was generally fine. I mean, that said, I don't suffer from seasickness, so probably not best to get your advice from me when it comes to that. But it was such a special holiday, not just because I got engaged, but also just to have that time away and see so many places, and to have some sun and warmth in February. What a treat. So as I said, next week I'll take you on a little come back with me, and then there'll be a few more tips and tricks videos in the weeks after that about the old cruise life, now that I am a pro in that area. So thank you so much for watching, and let me know in the comments if you've ever been on a cruise, if you're tempted to do a cruise, where have you been, what you want to do. Let me know everything. So anyway, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, see you later.